The value in networking.
I like in-person dealing more now with the shows.
There was a lot of foul activity going on, and no one's talking about it.
I feel like I see less patience in the hobby today. And I want to get your thoughts on it. When you hear of the large dollar amounts now around PMGs, what do you think?
What it takes for someone to spend that much money on any card.
Fanatics did something tonight I had never heard about. They have a lottery.
We got you on the line.
We got oh my goodness, we're both on the line.
Yes,
I don't think that the fact that they did Be Friends and Jackass is going to have any impact on how they treat sports cards.
So I asked you, FD, since we're rolling with FD.
Let's roll, man. What's up? You got to let the people know who you're rolling with, man.
Well, obviously I'm rolling with FD.
What's up, people? It don't stop and it don't quit. So right now we're here with Nick B, and we're going to talk about the National and a little bit more. So let's welcome in Nick B. Nick, what's up?
What's up, guys? How are you?
All right, what's going on, man? So how was the National? Man? How was the National?
Listen, it was a National on steroids. It was something that, in comparison to last year's, it was definitely something to experience for sure. There was so much going on. I got there at 10 a.m. Before you know it, it's already 4:30, and I'm scrambling to do all the things that I was trying to do from the start. And before you know it, I got to go home or go to a trade night and then head back the next day. So it was insane.
So what was your strategy? We got Sammy here. Sam, what's up? What's up, Sammy? Good to see you. What was your strategy walking in the door? And then when did you realize, because this happens at shows, especially at National, that strategy was going to be derailed?
Yeah, so I mean, originally, I had a ton of raw cards that I wanted to get graded, and I knew that SGC was doing the pre-grade. So I had a stack of cards that I knew that I wanted to take to SGC, drop them off, and then move on to. We actually mentioned this in the last live that I was on. I was in search of a Steph Curry not a rookie card, a Steph Curry autograph card.
That's right.
Whether that was a rookie or whether that was whatever, just I wanted an autograph card graded of a Steph Curry autograph card, whatever that was. Once you walk in, especially if it's at a venue that you haven't been to before, because most people in the hobby today, a lot of people haven't been to the one in Atlantic City because it hasn't been there since I think 2016, and before that, back in the 90s. So even if you were in the hobby previously, you may not have just been to that one. But I didn't know the layout. Honestly, it was a little bit more. It was a little less complex than Chicago. I didn't get lost as much. They had big signs above each row. Exactly. It was super, organized comparatively, in my opinion.
In Chicago, you kind of had sections, and you could get out of that section and be like, man, how do I get back to that section? And just from what I saw, it looked like I know I'm here, I know I'm there, I know I'm meeting someone over in row 200. I know I can see how to get over there, like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was definitely you could kind of see everything, but it was. You went to Chicago. You turn around and you turn a corner and you're like, where did I go? But it was interesting, which I didn't really get this feeling when I was in Chicago because I wasn't really looking for something in the range of a Steph Curry autograph card. When I was in the heat of the trying to find a deal, that's when I kind of got misplaced because I would locate a card that I actually wanted. I'd walk 5 tables down, turn around, and be like, oh wait, where was that card? And I'll mention this, a lot of that came into play because, I don't know if you heard, but there was basically zero Wi-Fi, zero service. So every time I found a card, so my strategy kind of changed in the sense that all the cards that I did find and I liked, obviously you want to comp it out. You want to see that where that range of value you want to be as the buyer. So I had to go into my notes, which everyone should do this regardless of whether there's Wi-Fi or not.
Nick, you're saying you were prepared no matter if you had Wi-Fi or not?
Yes.
This man's a genius. Go ahead, bro. Tell us the story. Go ahead.
No, so I was prepared in the sense. Well, the reason why I was prepared is because I went to a national previously, so I kind of knew what to expect hardship-wise in a sense. But there were definitely things that came up that where I was like, okay, I have to adjust because, like I said, Wi-Fi was basically walking into a black hole. I mean, I couldn't get calls, couldn't receive, couldn't text, couldn't go on Instagram, nothing. So I actually had to walk out into the street, and if anyone was there, they understand you have to walk down the hallway, down the escalator, through the doors, all the way to the end of the street. Like it's probably a 10 to 12 minute walk, depending on where you are at the show. So what I had to do was type in all of the cards that I saw in the showcases into my phone, into my notes, and then take a 30-minute break out of the show, go outside and comp all the cards. But what I actually did was I would actually screenshot probably 4 or 5 scrolls on 130 point or a card ladder or alt, and then have those screenshots and favorite them or whatever, and then go back into the show. That way I didn't have to go back into it if I forgot the prices, and I didn't have to type it out, but I had that in my photo album. So then, I had to do that probably a dozen times throughout the whole show, which takes away, I would say, probably 4 or 5 total hours of actually on the floor showtime in comparative to the Chicago show where I didn't have to do that.
No, we didn't have to do that at all. But let me ask you a question. Demetrius says here, Demetrius I grew up with. Sorry, FT, most of us need our Wi-Fi. So let me ask you this question now. This is a question I thought about. So let's say you want to purchase a card. A lot of people use Zelle, Venmo, some kind of Cash App, something. If that wasn't working, how are you paying for a card?
Yes, it really was cash is king, no matter what. It kind of forced the notion of that. Some people, it was interesting. There were some certain small spots where there were Wi-Fi, but a lot of that space was in the breaker pavilion where I guess it was a little bit stronger. It was like there's not a lot of people group wise were in that area unless there was like a huge break going on.
Yeah.
A lot of the big kind of packs of people were in the middle, like by the tops area where they were doing giveaways and stuff like that. But the majority of the time there was a little bit more Wi-Fi in that area. But I walked around with cash. I did my strategy kind of going into it. I took some cash out and had some cash on hand just in case I saw something right away. But my kind of goal was, I wanted to sell 5 to 6 cards going into the rest of the national just to liquidate some things, have some cash on hand on top of what I took out. So I kind of had a base of what I was willing to get down to after I sold those cards. Which it worked out to a degree in the beginning, but as the show went on, as dealers started buying a lot of influx of cards, they were less willing to buy and a little bit more willing to trade, which is actually where I thrived a little more in the trading aspect, because not a lot of dealers were buying probably end of day 2 and on.
Interesting. Interesting. Because my first question was, man, how would the Wi-Fi affect a card? Like, if you wanted to buy something, say, and you got me thinking about some things now. I go to a show here, I don't walk in with cash. I'm leaning heavily on what is Zelle going to do for me, what is Venmo going to do for me. If I found myself in a situation early, I most likely would have been at that show early in the day. If I found out there was a problem, I'm probably leaving, then going to a cash-based system. And knowing that I'm going to make moves throughout the day based upon cash. I just wonder, were there any deals that did not happen or were difficult to occur because of no Wi-Fi?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely passed up on because I had a couple Steph Curry autograph cards that I did want early on, probably I think in day 2. Because like I said, day 1, I honestly didn't get much of a chance to look around because I dropped off a couple orders at SGC. I was trying to go to the different booths that were doing the giveaways, got a couple free shirts, got a couple national silver packs and all that kind of stuff. So I didn't really look around the dealers much. But the second day, I found 2 or 3 cards in the $1,200 to $1,500 range, and I was willing to possibly try to offer some trade and some cash. But I had to walk away because I had to check comps. And when I came back, every single one of those, 2 or 3 cards were sold, were gone. Whether they got traded for or they got bought. But I was a little frustrated, obviously, because when you go into a show and you want something and things are coming 1, 2, 3, boom, they're gone. You're like, now what? Because as you know, as the show goes on, it gets harder to obtain some items just based on situationally how some dealers get frustrated. Some dealers aren't willing. You know, their willingness to do a multitude of things decreases as shows go on. Because like everyone says, you want to get to a show early. Dealers are willing to do a little more in comparison to the end of the show, where it could be vice versa. So that's kind of how that shaped up for me. I did lose a couple, but I am very happy with what I ended up acquiring. I think it was day 3.
That is a card. We're gonna hit some comments here. 2 lives in one night. Big John, you know it can't stop and it won't stop. Money Mike says, "What's up, gentlemen?" Colorado Sports 2 says hi. From the bench, FD running double duty tonight. Yep, I want to bring this feedback from the National because I wasn't there. My man Nick B was, so we had to come with it tonight. From the bench, never assume you have good sales service at a show. I guess I'm just spoiled, man. It's just, but I will tell you this: now that this has occurred, I'll have a strategy but what's my plan B? We all know we get up and do a presentation somewhere. If your PowerPoint is not working or your computer goes out, what's plan B? We need the same thing when we enter any kind of atmosphere. I never really thought about this before. Something tells me in my gut that Wi-Fi will be solidified as shows going forward. But if there is something, anything can happen with electronics or anything in particular, even if electricity goes out and you have a backup generator, what's going on? But I still want to be able to, you might see something in front of you like Nick just talked about. You may walk away, you might not see it again.
Man, so what I actually did a couple times, and I didn't realize it till I was like in the situation when I was dropping a couple cards off at SGC. I said, wait a second, this computer that I'm entering the order on has Wi-Fi. I was like, why don't I just check a couple comps real quick? So I actually was on the computer at SGC, and I was like, let me just check a couple because I didn't want to take up too much time because there were people online. So I pulled up like eBay or 130 real quick, and I typed it in, and I got a couple comps, and I said, okay, that's how much it's worth, blah, blah, blah. But realistically, you should be allowed to do that anyway because on the sheet on SGC, you have to put in declared value. So some people, you may have just pulled a card and you don't necessarily know the declared value of the card, so you know, it helps to put that in. But I did that a couple times, and I do want to give kudos to a lot of the dealers who were very helpful, not specifically with me, but I overheard a lot of conversations where guys were saying, hey, you know, I don't know the comp of this card. Could you just search something up? Because a lot of the dealers were paying, I think it was like $80 per day for Wi-Fi for their booth. And a lot of those dealers were very helpful with a lot of the patrons, giving some guys comps when needed, when requested. So I want to just shout out those dealers who did go out of their way to do that, because obviously there's a lot going on and there's a lot of things happening. But you know, for them taking the time out to show some love, that's great.
So let's talk about people as well. I saw some pictures that you took, but walk us through some of the people that you were able to meet that you have never met before. It could be somewhat famous in the hobby or a person that you've talked to or communicated with on social media that you hadn't had the chance to talk to. Let's talk about the gems of the people that you met.
Yeah, so I'll just show this right here. I actually got to meet Gary V, which was awesome. He signed a couple cards right there. Really cool. It was like $5 per card just to buy the card, and then he would take a selfie with you and he'd sign the cards, and he was really nice. I said, you know, I just gave him a shout out. I was like, hey man, I love what you're doing. You're doing great things. You know, you're really motivating people. You're a lot of positivity. Love it. I actually, so there's a company that I work for called Sign. It's like an autograph memorabilia company. And one of our icons that are on the site was at the show signing for TriStar. So I actually got to go behind the scenes with him, and I did some filming because like we've talked before, I'm a photographer, videographer, and I was filming some content for our social media. It was actually Otis Anderson, Super Bowl MVP. I'm sure you know who he is.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, he's a player, man.
Oh yeah. And listen, there's not too many Super Bowl MVPs, let alone a running back. So great player. I got to go behind the scenes with him, behind the curtain. And I'm a huge Red Sox fan. I turn the corner, and who's standing right there? David Ortiz. And I don't really get I don't get shocked by celebrities much just because I've worked with a lot of them. But when it's like kind of like a childhood hero for you, and it's like someone that you don't necessarily think you're going to meet just because how much you looked up to somebody like that, I was like, damn, that's pretty cool seeing David Ortiz in the flesh.
Did you have a chance to talk to David Ortiz?
I said what's up to him. He said, "What's up? How you doing?" And he was in a rush. He's all star running around, has so much going on. But as we were walking out, actually, this isn't about David Ortiz, but as we were walking out of like the back area, in through the door walks Joe Theismann and Emmitt Smith. So that was pretty cool. Kind of bumping shoulders with them. I saw Jim Kelly, which was pretty cool. I saw Jorge Masvidal walking around. Joe Montana was doing a box break. Paul Pierce did a box break. So I love how people say that the hobby is dying, the market is down. Listen, it's not going anywhere. Me and you both know. Everyone watching knows this hobby is alive and well. It's not going anywhere. If anything, it's blowing up more than ever. If cards are selling for $30 million, and that's not happening.
Yeah, it's interesting to me when people say that, like the hobby is dead. It's interesting.
People want to be negative, and I think a lot of that connotation is coming from people who came into this hobby and aren't now getting what they want out of it, which is that fast return on cards. They're not collecting. They're not doing it for per se the right reasons. They're trying to make a quick buck, and they're like, F this hobby. Nobody cares about it. Why? I'm not making my money. But it's like, dude, we're all in it to have fun. At the end of the day, there's a reason why it's a hobby. People can make money on it. If you sell your cards when you sell your cards, you make a quick buck. 99% of the people are putting it right back into the hobby anyway. I've sold cards and I've made a couple $1,000s in profit here and there. But at the end of the day, I may pocket a couple $100, but the rest of it's going back in. So, but that's what it's all about, collecting what you love, buying what you love, but also, learning about new things, learning about new sports, new players. Who loved F1 2 years ago? That created a whole new fan base just because of this hobby for people collecting those cards. And I think it's incredible. Even soccer. How many people in America even knew who Kylian Mbappe was, let alone Messi, Ronaldo, Holland? People had no idea who these guys were until the hobby came around and really embraced the sport as a whole, putting Topps Chrome products out and stuff like that. It does great for sports in general.
Very, very much so. Money Mike has a question here. Were there a lot of Star 101 Jordans on display at the National?
I saw a bunch of Beckett slabbed ones. I actually walked by the great curator's case, and he had a PSA 7, I believe. I think that was one of the few, if not only, PSA slab that there was available. But there were a couple tables right when you walked in the door that did have some Beckett slabbed ones, but I didn't see. I saw a couple with some complete set raw ones. I think they were asking like 80, 60K or something like that. But otherwise, I didn't see a huge, vast variety of them.
What about what else did I want to ask you? We're talking about Jordans. Were there any cards that let's talk about prices of cards. Were there cards that you saw where you thought the price was not current comps? Like they were higher?
I came into this issue with a lot of vintage stuff. I was actually, go back a little bit to the first night after trade night. I actually liquidated and traded out of a lot of my cards. I had a lot going. I had a case full of cards, and I walked out of the trade night with basically half a case. I traded and sold 10 Star Wars slabs. So I had some liquidation. Like I said earlier, I had some liquidation, which was kind of my plan going into the second, third, and fourth day.
That was your plan.
Yeah. So I was able to liquidate a lot of stuff. So I was actually, and I liquidated a Willie Mays, and it was a 1956 Bowman CSG3. So I actually moved on from that and moved into another card. So I had a little bit of an attachment to that card for reasons like my dad has a relationship with him on a personal level. They used to work together when my dad was a police officer in New York. So it was kind of like a PC card, but I got another PC card out of it. So I was actually on a little bit of a mini hunt to find another Willie Mays vintage card, and I found a few at some booths, and I, like I said, I noted them in my notes, and when I would go outside and comp them out, they were like $200-300 over comps. So like for instance, a SGC 4.5 last sold for I don't know like $400, and he had it comped to like $620. And then when I go back and ask, they were like, I was like, hey, could you take $500 cash? And they said, no, we can't do that. And I kind of tell them, hey, listen, these are what the last sold have been. I know your car has really great eye appeal. It looks beautiful. This is kind of where I want to be just to feel secure in the deal. But that kind of happened with a lot of the vintage stuff that I saw. Modern is kind of happens regardless. People are high on comps no matter what, I feel like, and that seems like to be the case in a lot of different shows, not just the national. But I feel like vintage has never been that overpriced in comparison to what I experienced at the national when I was kind of looking at some stuff.
I wonder if that's because people know the move right now is to vintage. Pretty sure.
So I just had this conversation with somebody, and I was mentioning like guys who own vintage, they know they're never going to really lose their investments in vintage. Vintage is only going up, whether that's 0.5%, 1% over 6 months or whatever that is per card. But they know comparative to modern, a modern card could go to zero. It could. There is that potential. But a vintage card, you're not going to zero unless someone opens 100 boxes of that vintage card for whatever box that year is from, which is probably unlikely by a mile. But those guys are secure. A lot of them love those cards, and on top of that, they don't care what they sell them for, if they sell them at all. They just want to mainly show the cards off. But that's just the way it is. You got to find a new collector who just so happens to have vintage that is in that kind of move in, move out of cards mindset, where when you go to the older OGs of the card hobby, they don't care about moving stuff like that.
I agree. So Money Mike says, asks the question, what was the cheapest 1952 Mantle that you saw?
So I saw a PSA 1 and a PSA Authentic, I saw an SGC Authentic and a PSA 1. I think they were asking 10 to 12K on those, which seems high, obviously, but with the idea of that SGC 95 going for I think gonna surpass the Honest Wagner. I think they're expecting that, or it already did based on the current bid. Everyone's gonna be everyone's gonna be raising their prices.
You saw as well the PSA 10 52 Mantle, right? You saw that? You took a picture of that, right?
Yep. Took a video of it. It's a part of the Diamondback collection. They have, I think it's like $100 million or $150 million worth of cards in that one section alone.
And that card alone, $35 million.
Yeah, crazy, and it's beautiful. Corners are better than any modern card I've ever seen. Colors are perfect. White, it's incredible.
Well, the owner stated that he bought the card in 1991 for $50,000. He was at Al Rosen's show, who was huge in the history of the hobby, and his son brought the card to his attention. And I'm a firm believer in this. He said he doesn't really bring that card out maybe a couple of times a year. I believe
it barely ever sees light. Yeah.
Light damage to stuff is not really talked about a lot in the hobby, but I'm a firm believer in keeping stuff in closed areas under certain temperatures. It helps you out long term. But that card looked, I wasn't up on it like you, but the card looked crazy just in a picture.
Yeah. No, it was incredible. And another one that was pretty cool, just saying, because you've seen it on TV a few times, is the I think it's the trainer card. Oh no, the Illustrator Pokemon card that is owned by Logan Paul with the diamond chain. I saw that one. That was pretty cool. Just I didn't even know it was going to be there. I kind of had an idea the Mantles were going to be there, but I didn't know the Logan Paul card was going to be there. So that was pretty cool seeing that in person as well.
FD 50K in 1991 is like 300K today. But if any of us had 300K money, Mike, would you turn it around for 35 in 32 years, 31 years? I think we would. If we were on that level and we had it, I think I would definitely dive in.
And that kind of makes you think, because, you know, is it worth it putting, I would say, $20K into a LeBron autograph card, knowing he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, knowing he's going to pass the Kareem scoring title, knowing he's going to probably be the first to score 40,000 points? You know, is that a smart investment, even though you have to lay out $20,000+ in cash or wire transfer? Are you going to make, you know, are you going to turn it into 100K? Based on how you see these guys who shelled out 50K back then, now the guy's selling a car for $6.5+ million. You know, that's, you got to think, you know, if you have that money to throw around, instead of putting it into stocks and crypto and all that kind of stuff that is insanely volatile, why not do a proven structured method in sports cards that, you know, when a guy is proven, when a guy is great, when a guy is beloved and he has such a great fan base, why not put some money into him? Because you kind of already know what's going to happen, especially a guy like LeBron, a guy like Steph Curry, a guy like Tom Brady, a guy like Patrick Mahomes. You know, I know Patrick Mahomes is young, but there's a legacy there. There's something
he's
that's
going down that road.
He's
on the highway taking the exit to greatness. Yes.
Yeah, and I guess Patrick Mahomes could be a better example, because he does probably have another 12, 15 years maybe, depending, you know, based on how these athletes nowadays have such longevity, as long as they don't get injured, especially quarterbacks, the way they're protected today. You know, why not throw a 10K into a Patrick Mahomes autograph card or a rookie card? You're going to see a return. Obviously, you're taking a chance with injuries, but realistically, Mickey Mantle didn't have a super long career. You know, he was very successful, but people don't by any means consider him the best baseball player of all time. Maybe the best switch hitter, but by no means the best baseball player of all time. There's probably 5 or 6 guys ahead of him. You know, you get the Babe Ruths, the Ted Williams, the Willie Mays, that are for sure, in my opinion, above him in that baseball kind of top 5, top 10 talk. But, you know, his cards are the most valuable cards in sports, you know, and it's crazy to think about.
It's just interesting to me, like some of the bigger cards. I haven't bought anything that was $300,000 or $50,000, but the larger cards that I've purchased, I found that it's not easy to make those purchases, because if I am wrong, it could be hard to swallow if I am wrong.
Yeah.
But I try to go through a process myself to make sure I'm trying to go down the road of someone that is quite different. And if we think about the players whose cards are leaders in the marketplace and what people refer to when people start talking about greatness in their respective sports, those are the cards that you really want to, if you want to start. And this is just in my opinion. There are some people who may be prospecting that may spend $50,000 on a card. But I have to feel like I'm embarking into the greatness zone to go that route. It just helps my decision. But I'll tell you this, to press that send button or to press that button on eBay, it's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah, when you watch 50K go out of an account, I can't imagine because I haven't done that, nor do I see in the next year or so that ever happening. Even if I, for some reason, come into a boatload of cash, I've lived so long enough to say I don't want to see $10,000 go out of my account, let alone $100,000, $300,000, or 6.5 million for a card. That's crazy.
So, Money Mike, when I hear this story about 50K in 1991, oh yeah, I know what it's valued at today. But just to have the wherewithal, now you may have the means because there's people that have the means, but to be able to think on that level, I'm just amazed by that. To me, it's just like, wow. I was 16 years old in 1991, man. This guy picked up a $35 million card at a show.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say when I walk into a show, it's like you were at the National. There are some cards that we all are seeking after or will seek after. There might be some younger players that were at the National, cards represented there, that 30 years from now, people be like, man, I picked this up at the National.
Yep.
Or I picked it up at this small show in my community. Doesn't really matter. That's why cards are just, to me, it's a level ground. And if you have a strategy, sometimes you can walk in and see something that other people don't see.
Yeah, I mean, I have the card right here. This is the Curry card I picked up. And, you know, I'll always know that I bought my first Curry autograph card. And this is, you know, probably the biggest card value-wise at its peak, I would say, that I've bought at a show in person, for sure. I have some cards that are probably valued a little higher than it at the moment, but I feel like the potential and the security of the investment is a no-brainer for me. You know, it's an on-card auto. It's numbered at a 20. It's in a slab. It's in a Beckett slab, which for autograph cards are very desirable. You know, it's a great investment. I love the card. I love the player. I didn't just I wouldn't just go out and just buy a random autograph card of any great player. I don't necessarily have any interest in buying LeBron. I don't have any interest really in buying Michael Jordan. Are those good investments? Of course they are. But I love Steph Curry. I didn't just buy it because I want to make $5K 10 years from now. No, I actually love Steph Curry. I love the way he plays. I love what he stands for. I love what he does on and off the court. You know, I can look at this card and be content with knowing I shelled out some cash, traded some other cards I cared about to get it, and also be content with knowing that, hey, you know what? Maybe 5 years from now, if I need some cash, I could probably sell it and make a return on whatever I paid for it.
I like the card too because it's a clean look. It's on card auto. I'm peeping all this when you send me the picture, and it just has eye appeal. To me, certain cards, you look at them, they separate themselves by the design of the card from other cards. That card just is smooth looking, man.
Yeah, so I'll just talk through kind of the process of how I kind of got it, and I'll shout out Indianapolis Card Exchange, and I'm sure you've seen him on a bunch of vlogs. I actually picked it up from him at his table, and I want to really shout him out because he really worked with me on this deal, and I think he kind of knew that I really wanted the card because I kind of stood there and I was very patient because there was some guys around me that were a little pushy with him, and they were kind of butting into our conversation, asking, hey, can you look at my cards? And I was kind of sitting content. I really wanted a card. I wanted to give him his time to talk with some other people. But I saw the card, saw the price tag, didn't even ask him about it. I didn't have any other cards on my list because, like I said, I've already lost 3 or 4 cards. So I was scared to walk out and comp this card. So I ran out. I literally, speed walked outside, comped the card, and there weren't any comps, which actually made me want the card a little more because I can't find any cards.
Yeah, I haven't seen that card, man. I look at Steph Curry stuff all the time. I have not seen that card.
Yeah. So that actually kind of made it a little bit more desirable to me because, you know what? I just like uncanny stuff. I'm the kind of guy who just likes to buy different. I don't want to like everybody else, which is nothing wrong with what people buy. I just kind of like to buy different stuff. So I came back in. I said, hey, man, do you have any room on it? Are you willing to accept some trade? I'm willing to, shell out some cash because I really want the card, but I want to see if I can get it at a little bit better price point cash-wise. So I traded a couple cards. Actually, he wanted one card, and he said, listen, I'll take this Julio Rodriguez card plus X amount of cash. And I said, listen, I have this one Justin Herbert card. It's last comp to $300. I'll even value it $100 less than the last comp if you will let me put in X amount of cash. Can you meet me there? And he said, you know what? I can do it. So we shook, deal done. He worked with me because he was asking, a decent penny for it, but he got me I was able to get it at a price point to where, honestly, I thought I was going to have to pay $1,200 plus bucks or more no matter what. I ended up kind of getting it under that $1,000 cash wise threshold with that trade value added on to it. So I kind of, I actually did a lot better than I thought, especially after going through the whole show, 2 full days, looking at because there were guys comping some of these Curry autograph cards at like no less than $1,500, and those were sticker autos, and a lot of those sticker autos were off the sticker. They were graded a 9 autograph. So I was like, man, I'm not gonna pick up a Curry autograph. I'm gonna have to.
Curry, with that downstroke on his C, he'll get off that sticker in a minute.
Exactly. So it's like, I was really kind of
your negotiation skills, bro. I'm hearing some things here.
Yeah. I mean, you gotta have the prowess of understanding. Listen, we're all doing the same thing. We're not doing things for different reasons. We're all collecting cards. We all want to be, we don't want to lose money, but at the end of the day, you got to be fair. And you got to have an idea of how to work deals and make them work, especially if it's something that you really want. I didn't necessarily take a hit on the cards that I traded, but I didn't get the value necessarily that I would have gotten if I sold it straight up. But those 2 cards got me to where I want to be on a card that I really wanted. And sometimes you have to take those hits, especially if it's a card that is going to be a pure investment for the next few years if you don't plan on moving. If someone came to me and offered me, double or 75% more than I paid for this card, I don't know if I would sell it right away. It would have to take a little bit more for me to actually part with this card. I want to carry it around and show people, but it's realistically kind of not for sale at the moment because I just love the card.
Yeah, it's a beautiful card, man.
Yeah, thanks.
I expected nothing less, bro. When you told me what you wanted, I was like, you're going to find that? You're going to find the one that you want? Let's see here. Today's modern cards are compared to the Federal Reserve. They keep printing more and more versus vintage balls. It's true. But there are some rare modern cards that not a lot of them have been printed. If you can find them at the right price, you're winning. So in my mind, right, I just walk right through all of that. I could walk in a show and I can see the card. I could walk by a case and see the card that Nick has, and I know I've done extensive work, bro, looking at Steph Curry. I haven't seen that.
I know.
So that let me know that it has to be numbered before I even look at the card. I could be looking over somebody's shoulder. Like, that has to be numbered. I see a auto-owned car. I know that's different. I'm about to have this conversation. And so what Nick picked up is a modern car. But you're not going to find this everywhere, man. So, yeah, this statement by Michael K67 is correct. But just know there are some parts of modern cars that you're not going to see a lot of. Demetrius says, FD, have you ever lusted after someone's car who wasn't a great player? Maybe they are admirable for other reasons. No, sir. Not. I'm just telling you about me. Not at all. Demetrius, you know me, bro. No. Now, I do have cars in my collection of people that I liked when I was growing up. But lusted after, no. I just, my mind is just, sometimes I just get very serious about things that I think are like what Nick just talked about, something that's going to be desirable in the future and why. And that's where I kind of spend my time. I do appreciate PC. There's some friends of mine that may call me and talk to me about cards. And then as soon as they say, well, this is for my PC, I don't have any questions. I don't have any questions about why did you pick that car? Who is this athlete? Oh, you know that person is averaging this. Does not matter to me. But if you say, hey, I want some advice on a card that I want to add to my collection for investment purposes, then we got to talk to you. As we say, square business. Like, it can't be both sometimes. So, no, my mind is go to Demetrius. Money Mike, my parents bought their first house in 1989 for $29.5K. and they were struggling with the mortgage. If this guy has $50K to spend on a car, he's probably a millionaire. That is true. But there are millionaires that put money in stuff that have no return to very little return. Again, I would just say if we have, as collectors out here or people involved in the sports hobby, if you see something that is attainable for you, I talk about this all the time. You buy a $15 card and then it's worth $25 in 10 years. That was a good purchase.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that simple. Now, if you want to do that multiple times to try to get to some financial place that you want to be in, that's one thing. But there are many different levels of success and how you get there. And what's your stair step may be different than somebody else's, but you can make a lot of moves in 52 weeks of a year to get. I think about some cars I have in my PC right now. I didn't have a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
I just take it step by step. I take it show by show. I don't get any deeper than that. How can I maximize this? I do research on eBay and other sources. How can I maximize that? How do I bring this stuff together? And it kind of works out sometimes. Curry Exquisite Rookie Auto is a great investment at $30K. Then I saw another statement here. I think, okay, Curry Exquisite Rookie on-car auto would be worth more than LeBron Exquisite auto when he finishes his career with 7 titles. I don't know. I actually saw.
Go ahead. I will say this real quick. I want you to finish that, but I will just say I saw not a lot, but I saw a lot more than I thought I was going to see of Curry Exquisite Rookie Autos, and I saw maybe 3 or 4 of them on the floor, which you probably would expect maybe to see one.
Yeah, you don't see a lot of those. Mm-hmm. People may be moving them because of where his car market is. Because I remember when this 30K Exquisite was $12.5, and that wasn't that long ago. Yeah, that's within the last year. So, Colorado Sports 2. What I'm wondering, since you probably won't see the 1-on-1s, but the 5.5s, 25.25s, or 50.50s, graded high will be the same type of great investment if you think a player is headed to a GOAT someday. I always make the statement that these short printed cards, if you have a player that's legendary later, what are the values of these cards going to be? Mm-hmm. It's going to be crazy to me. It's going to be a crazy dollar amount.
I think that everyone says that things are overprinted and there's so many different sets and all that kind of stuff. But I think that as long as there are these short printed, like higher end or mid end kind of cards, as long as there is a serial number aspect to it, I don't see why that could be a bad thing. I think that kind of holds that rarity aspect of the hobby. But I think that the overprinting, as people say, of those lower end products still gives the opportunity to those younger or, collectors who just don't have the deep pockets able to keep doing it. The companies aren't they're not dumb in a way that they're just printing stuff to make money. No, they're still keeping that aspect of rarity with these short print cards, these gold parallels, these X fractors. These cards are insanely desirable, and that's only going to go up over time as boxes are ripped, as cards get older. It's just the way it is.
Now, what about the 12 to 15-year-old today? Because I've met some who have $20,000 on cards sitting in front of them at a trade night. Right? What are they going to have in front of them 25 years from now? And then how does a person get to be? You gotta start with some base. You gotta start somewhere. You gotta be interested in something. I've been at shows and someone younger than 12, younger than 10 may break out a card that's valued at $100. That's a big card.
Mm-hmm. No.
When I was 12, I didn't have a card that was worth $100. So I think we also got to remember, as we're out here doing whatever we do as adults, and then there are other people that have really deep pockets. How do we get the hobby of young people? Baseball and other sports are dealing with this. How do we get young people to be interested in something, to want to grow and mature in it, to one day do this. They have to start somewhere. You got to produce products for them, something that's affordable for them, something they can trade amongst each other at lunch or at recess or over a friend's house. That still has to be there in the hobby to me, for there to be a hobby 30 years from now, where we're talking about Jordan Poole and where his cars are, or some other Shea where his cars are, or somebody that hasn't even come out yet.
Yeah, and I will add that also having the avenues of opportunity for these young collectors or these collectors who are getting into the hobby that are new, having avenues like Facebook breaking, Instagram breaking, whatnot breaks, and stuff like that, where some guys may not be in areas where they're near a Walmart to buy a car, near a Barnes & Noble to buy a box of cards, and whatnot kind of gives you that somewhat affordable price point to get into breaks, to get cards. And I think for kids, looking back at my childhood, if I didn't spend $60, $50 per video game that I bought that I had 80 games of, and add that up, if I would have bought sports card boxes back in 2009 as Steph Curry, I'd have a lot of money based on the investment.
You'd be doing. My father used to tell us, back in the day, we used to have old Atari and stuff. And I remember you could get a cartridge. This is going way back, Nick. You could get a cartridge for like $25, $26, under $30. And my brother and I had all types of games. And he would just come home and be like, let's add up. Okay, you got 15 cartridges here at $30. What if y'all did this? What if you bought comic books or you purchased cars with this? What do you think you'd be? And those statements, I used to be like, I didn't think of that. Like, oh, wow, thanks for bringing that up. But that is the truth.
Yeah.
I remember being in college, man. I used to go in FYIs and different CD stores. I remember when the middle of Best Buy was all CDs. You go into a Best Buy, you could just be in there for days shopping for music. If you took that money, and I know we all love music, but if you took some of that money, a portion of that money, and did something else with it, you never know. And I think I see young people walking around, they're talking to me and they're savvy and they can go through a negotiation. They're different. So that same mindset, more school, more life experiences, you don't know what these people are going to be. So that's why I tell anyone, if you're not kind to a kid in a hobby and you don't see the benefit of them, then I don't know what. I don't know. Because I was a child that people thought, oh, he doesn't know anything, or I can tell him anything, or tell him the price of this is anything. But every show I went into as a kid, I did a lot of research. I knew the price of things, and I didn't have internet. And I still got there. So I like my son now. My son told me the other day that he wants to collect cars. And I said, well, if you collect cars or not, we go to shows right now so you can meet people, shake hands, understand how to move around.
Yeah.
If you never collected
it's more about it. Yeah. There's much more to
you
it.
never collected the car and you can accomplish that, then dad is happy. I'm happy. That's what my father used to do for me. So we said, I think this is Colorado Sports too. The Aaron Donald Prism 101 Black sold for maybe $25,000 about 5 months ago. Probably a bad idea to sell if you didn't have to. True. AD's 2014 Prism 101. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And that price, I think I'm right on with memory. I think you are correct. Just like anything, I remember 2-3 years ago, Aaron Donald stuff, he had already won 2 NFL defensive players. His stuff was not, prices were still very low. And when in the history of sports card collecting has a defensive tackle card been that high?
Insane. I couldn't personally imagine investing in a defensive player, but
yeah,
crazy.
The game has changed for some of these players from the bench. There's all no parallels of the vintage stuff though. So there's only 1 to 2 desirable rookie cards. The grades essentially become the parallel at that point. That's true.
Yeah.
ND Silver Hunter 2020. What's up? What's up, FD? What's up? How you doing? George D. We roll and cheers. Yep. Thank you very much, George D, Mac J, or T Law.
I would say, from my point of view, I guess if we're talking about the sports card collecting, I would say probably Trevor Lawrence, in a sense that I think on a personal level, the opportunity to excel more from a talent perspective, which would build more hype. I think Mac Jones, when he has success, it's more of a who else contributed, whether it was the coach, whether it was the scheme of the offense. With Trevor Lawrence, if he's winning, it's probably because of him and only him, because he is that guy. Where Mac Jones has such a strong structured system around him, there's a lot more to his success in comparison. Now, if he goes on to win Super Bowls, it doesn't really matter, because look at Tom Brady. Everyone kind of gives him the credit and moves on. But I think Trevor Lawrence has that opportunity to really wow people, throwing for 400 or 500 yards a game, throwing for 4 touchdowns. I think that he could do that, but that also puts in the factor of he can either be a boom or a bust. Where Mac Jones, I think
that's exactly what I was about to say. Mac Jones, safe play. He performs in a well-orchestrated offense and system. Belichick does not play games. So that's why Mac Jones was picked to be in his system. So he's a safer play. You kind of know what he's going to do, what he's not going to do. He's not going to put the game in jeopardy. At least that's not why he's in that position. Trevor Lawrence is going to be more of a volatile play. So if you're looking for high stake, like poker, or let's roll these dice and see what's going to happen, he could do very good for you from an investment standpoint. Or he could be someone where it's not a good investment. He has a better system around him now, as far as coaches, other players, what he's being asked to do. He has a real coach that wants to coach. So I think he should do better there. Every quarterback, I don't care who they are, Mac Jones, Trevor Lawrence, or who they are, I got to see them play some games. So I really got to see Trevor Lawrence play in this system to understand who he is and what he can do. I know he's won on every level, high school, college, trying to see if he can win in the pros. To me, a franchise, the organization, is what wins. The players execute the procedure of the process, right? Just for me, Jacksonville, they couldn't even get Fred Taylor right. So he has to overcome a lot. There's this same thing that goes with the young quarterback with the New York Jets. He has to overcome a lot to win there.
So going on that, I'll ask you a question and I'll show you some cards. I actually got these for $50 packs from Wild Cards at the National. Who would you rather pick up as an investment in the sports card hobby? So you got Zach Wilson, or you got Trey Lance.
Because of the organization, I haven't watched either of them play that much, but because of the organization and how they build success and train and develop people, I would have to go with Lance.
Huh.
Now, we may look back years from now, and the Jets may be a phenomenal organization being led by this quarterback, but systems, to me, processes build something in people. I just got to see where the Jets are going to go.
I agree, 100%.
Because the Jets have had some great quarterbacks over time, man. I mean, I even go back when I was a kid. Ken O'Brien was a phenomenal quarterback. Got beat into the ground. Just not having anybody really around him. And we can see other modern-day quarterbacks have been the same way. So we just got to see what he's going to do. Last year he got hurt. Started out pretty decently, ended up getting hurt. But we just got to see what he's going to do. That's the hardest position, man, to play. That's a tough quarterback in the NFL is a tough position to play. And to me, if you walk out there and get in the huddle, you're better than most. Most people don't have the guts to even do that. Then you start taking some snaps and see where you put the ball, and then get sacked, get hit hard, or throw an interception. You need to rebound. That's why I learned well. Quote, this is why I like Burrow. This is why I learned, and I've seen Herbert mess up, do some things, come back strong. That's what I learned about the quarterback. When they mess up in the game, what do? So I got to see Lance, and I got to see him mess up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But pickups at the National, I think those are two smart pickups because I think those two players could be a flip opportunity. Their career, where their cards at right now compared to even a year from now may be totally different. Before the Super Bowl may be different. By week 9 may be different. So I can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Even Trevor Lawrence, I can understand why people are talking about Trevor Lawrence. A lot of things around him has changed, which should breed success for him. We got to see if it does that.
Mm-hmm.
Money Mike says Trey Lance is the next Baker Mayfield. I'll say this: Trey Lance has some players around him. There's some straight ball in a 49ers uniform. I mean, excuse me, in the Green Bay in the 49ers uniform. So he should.
And he's not walking into a situation where expected failure. Like Baker Mayfield with the Browns is just expected. They're going to lose no matter what. If you win, whoop-de-doo, but you're not going to make the Super Bowl. Where 49ers, there's always that expectation of winning because of the franchise that he's in.
But what's interesting is that I think he's going to be in a situation where he's not going to be asked to win the game. He has a running back. He has receivers. He has a tight end. There's a bunch of stuff that you could put him in, but he's maybe throwing the ball 15 times a game.
And they just extended Debo. Yeah.
Just remember, people, when Ben Roethlisberger was with Jerome Bettis, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't throwing the ball. I mean, he was like 14 times a game. He may have 165, 180 yards. That was Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, look how many yards he's thrown for in his career. You got to bring people along. You got to let them have some failures, some successes, watch some film, come back, work on this in practice. Look at Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady didn't come in starting. And then when he did start, that first Super Bowl, but he wasn't slinging the ball everywhere. So, Money Mike can tell you. Hard question, though, since I have several favorite players. Risky plays, maybe Derrick Henry 101. Kale Macker. I don't know who that is. Is that a baseball player? Arenado or a Mays rookie card to be safe. I would have to know the Mays rookie card grade. Do you know Kale?
Kale?
I don't think
I never heard of him.
Arenado.
You talking about Willie Mays? I would assume so, right?
Yeah, I think he's talking about Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Arenado. Oh, Kale Macker is a hockey player. I don't know enough. He's a hockey player. Kale Douglas Maker.
Yeah, I don't know much about hockey. I had never been much of a hockey guy.
To me, Arenado it's a great player. I've looked at his cards. He was in a small market in Denver. Now he's in St. Louis. I just don't know in the grand scheme of things. Talking about marketability, I just don't know about that.
It's interesting how baseball players, once they get into that year 6 to 8 in the hobby, I guess, per se, they don't have the hype that they were when they were first Bowman Chrome years.
Think about how Mike Trout stuff has declined.
Yeah, and he would be considered a modern GOAT in baseball, so I don't know how you
Albert Pujols stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not.
And I would say Albert Pujols is one of the. I think Albert Pujols, if we're talking baseball, is one of in the modern era. I would say from 90s till now, as a pure hitter, probably top 2 or 3, with probably Bonds and maybe another guy. But I think Pujols was right there. I mean, he was like a machine in like the early 2000s. It was crazy. I remember that. I'll never forget watching those games.
I was living in St. Louis in like the top of his career, like 2002, 2004. Yeah, and went to a lot of Cardinal games. Saw him put a lot of stuff in the bleachers. But why is the hobby per se not really hyped on him?
Especially when he's so close to I think it's what, 600?
No, he's close to 700.
700, yeah.
He probably never get there. Like this is his last season. He'll probably never get there. But people are talking more about Jason Dominguez than they will Albert Pujols. I don't know. I went to a show at the beginning of the year. Everybody was talking about Wander Franco, right? Nobody's talking about Julio Rodriguez. There was no one talking about Julio Rodriguez. And now he took a pitch off the hand. He's going to be out for a while, right?
How about Ken Griffey Jr.? You know what I'm saying? Like, people would say he's probably the top 2 hitters, pure hitters in baseball over the last 20 years. How are his cards not worth $100,000 to $200,000?
I did see. Now this is the kind of card that you want to hold on to, right? I wish it was something that I could have picked up. I did see a Ken Griffey Jr. 89 upper deck, BGS 10, which I think there's only a pop 3 or pop 5. About 4 or 5 months ago, sell on eBay for $15,000. Now that's the kind of card right there, right? We're talking about cards tonight and stuff that you probably want to. I always joke with friends that you buy and you put it so far back in the corner of your safe that it's difficult for you to touch it. That would be that kind of card. You're not gonna see that.
No.
That'll pop up somewhere later at a crazy value.
I saw a card. I thought it was pretty cool. It was and I've seen it before online, but it's the Mickey Mantle Ken Griffey Jr. dual sign card. I think that's a very cool card.
It's a cool card. To me, no matter what the grade is, that's a cool card. That card kind of changed the game as far as autographs on card and some of your legendary players together combo. You really hadn't seen that before. So from the bench, Kale Mecker is a hockey player, won MVP for college hockey, Rookie of the Year. Just won the Norris this year, which is the best defenseman award. Andy Stanley Cup MVP, all before his 24th birthday. From the bench, I appreciate that because I did not know my hockey game is struggling. You know, that's good. Feels like there's 100 players to choose from in all sports of greats to pick a grail card of. Just have to see what's available. I actually think that when you're talking about real GOATs of the game, I feel like there's only a few players to really talk about. Like I don't feel like there's a bunch of 100 players or a bunch of players. I'm talking about real game-changing kind of players. It's only a few. And in like basketball and football, every 20 years, 15, 20 years, you'll see one of these players. I think that other than that, we have our favorite players. We have players that are good. We have players that may be Hall of Famers, like we talked about earlier, Phillip Rivers. But how many degrees of separation of GOATness is there from Phillip Rivers to Tom Brady? You're not even in the same stratosphere.
No. Well, I would say if you want to look at it from a basketball standpoint, you have Jordan. Then the next one is LeBron, right? Then you go to Steph Curry, value-wise per se. Now you're at Ja Morant. You're at Zion. If he becomes what everyone hopes he becomes, and
you have players that have to prove themselves. The market is saying some things about them, but we still don't know. Derrick Rose was taking flight. He went out and tore out his knee. So then everything changed. Like we don't know where Zion and Ja Morant and several other players where they're going to be at. Steph Curry started with 2 years of ankle surgeries. At the time, nobody. I go back and tell people all the time. LeBron said in 2010 that he was going to Miami. I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. That was Steph Curry.
Nobody was talking about Curry.
That was the second. Nobody.
And let me ask you this, just because it's a cool little thing. to me, when I was always saying, like, Curry was always so excited. He was kind of like that Jim Fredette. Like, you saw him in college. He was a, crazy shot maker, and everyone was like, oh my God, he's awesome. But will he really convert to the NBA? And, you saw him get all these injuries, and it was like, man, like, he was really fun to watch. But when I first, like, for my viewing breakout wise, was that shot he hit in the playoffs against the Pelicans when he faded to the left out of bounds.
Davis runs at him. Everybody runs at him. Yep.
So I don't know how you would like look at it, but that's to me where I think that as a whole of people watching basketball and being a fan of basketball, that's kind of when he kind of broke out into the scene on a large scale basis. It was in the playoffs. It was a huge game-winning shot. It was all over ESPN, but I'll never forget that shot.
Because wasn't it the year before they won the championship? Wasn't that 2014?
Yeah. Ever since once that happened, it was like a nonstop run of just amazing basketball.
Because I can remember in 2015 when they went, I knew people who were like, man, these guys are not beating LeBron. I kept hearing that. These guys will not beat LeBron. But then they beat LeBron.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Colorado Sports 2 asked the question, what if Derrick Henry runs over everyone for the next 5 to 8 years? Colorado, let me break something down to you. I hate to burst your bubble, right? But Derrick Henry probably might not even be in the NFL in 8 years. The way he runs the ball, you saw this year, he couldn't make it through the season. Now, that way of running the ball, the Earl Campbell way is what I call it, looks good, doesn't last. So, no, he will I don't think he'll ever be mentioned with Jim Brown. No. No. Now, Colorado, you may be sitting on some Derrick Henry cards, right? And you may be like, man, I hope this dude could become Jim Brown. But I just hate to tell you, it's not going to happen.
Listen, Derrick Henry is that guy. That's not someone you want to line up against. But when in comparison, it's hard to say. Like, and I think Jim Brown cards are slept on, which I saw a lot of Jim Brown cards on the floor at the National, and they were priced very high. And I think people are very hold mode per se with their because you can tell when people have cards available, you can kind of say, okay, you don't really want to sell that card based on what you're pricing it at. And I feel that way with Jim Brown cards. They are priced extremely high. Not saying for no reason, but I feel like everyone is in that mode of, Jim Brown's getting older. His cards are rare.
That's what it is.
So I don't. Yeah. So.
I aspire one day to have a Jim Brown rookie card in my collection. I was thinking about that this year. It's probably going to be something else that I'm going to invest in, but that's exactly why. Because people are thinking that even if I hold on to this card, the market is going to move in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way for
100%.
Maker's base rookie Young Guns PSA 10 Prism equivalent for hockey sells for around $900 right now. His Future Watch auto PSA 10 Contenders auto equivalent sells for around $4,000. All right, so I'm going to take. Let me take a note down. I'm going to take a note down. I'm going to put some research into it to Maker. I'm going to put some research in. I got to learn more now. This has come up from the bench. Usually doesn't. He comes with knowledge. Colorado Sports 2 was going to say Maker has been awesome, but blew up this year for the Avalanche, and is now ranked in the top 3 of NHL players of recent rankings. Ranked 2 or 3 in the 2 rankings I've seen. No rant is the next Westbrook. I don't know if I compare him to Westbrook. To me, he's more like Derrick Rose.
Mm-hmm.
That's what, and that the jumping. I don't know. I think Westbrook is in a caliber by himself. Jimmer versus Curry was a real debate. It was, but the gem of that draft was Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin now is, I don't know. Injuries can do that. Colorado Sports 2, Zion had the hype of a player never seen in the last almost 20 years. I hope he can do something this year. I'm cheering for him. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for Ja too. Money Mike, the elite game against Kansas put Curry on the map. And then people thought he was a bust because he was hurt. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green told a story. Draymond said in his rookie year, he's at practice, one of his first practices. He said almost everybody from the front office that meant something to Golden State was in practice watching Curry shoot around to determine if they need to trade him. Just think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Peterson was that guy, and what does that sell for? I'm just telling you, running backs is not. It's not. I just don't, because I'm a huge Adrian Peterson fan. It's just not the longevity there for most of these guys. Money Mike. Now, if you like Adrian Peterson, you should be putting Adrian Peterson in your PC. I'm speaking of if you're talking about, I want to see what the value of this card is. Back to the comment that was made about Jim Brown. Curry against Kansas was the best college performance in the history of the NCAA. If you want Jim Brown in your portfolio, go get it. I think that's what you have to do.
That's your next big card.
I don't know if it's going to be mine. I was kicking something around just a few days ago of possibly getting a Jim Brown card, but I don't think that's going to be that's not going to be the play this year. I think we got to wait on that. I may have to pay for it when I actually do. I like my man, like R said, I think I got to go get it when it actually happens. But to me, that's just a card that I've always wanted. And sometimes in the past, I've gone for cards I've always wanted with an investment in mind. That's why I have to have these conversations. Instead of making an investment decision, this right here, I think I'm going to make an investment decision. And when I do get the card that is not going to be the Jim Brown card, I will let my people know. Yeah. I have you on before talking about it. All right, we got 2 more comments here. I know it's pretty late where you are. My Blake Griffin card kept flopping off the shelf. There was a lot of people investing heavily in Blake, so I understand why. From the bench, when you look in modern running backs, there are a few that sustain the hobby love for the price. LT, Peterson, the list is small. I've seen some LT cards that are, I don't know. It's hard. It's almost like in football. If you're not collecting or investing in certain quarterbacks, it's not an investment there.
Yeah. So, but before we do go, I want to just talk about and mention a little bit about the trade nights. I don't think we really touched on that at all, but I think that's a huge part of the National, because for me, especially, I've heard it from a ton of people that I know that were at the National. They did the majority of their moves, whether they were buying, selling, trading, at the trade nights, and not just the one that Card Collector 2 put on, but there were trade nights at the Bally's Casino, and there was the trade night that Don Diego put on at the Tavern across the street from the Convention Center. I went to all 3 of those, and I mean, the Card Collector 2 trade night alone, I sold, I think it was like 8 to 10 Star Wars Topps Chrome Galaxy cards, slabbed and raw. I made a lot of my money liquidation-wise in order to put the money that I got into the Curry card that I got because of those trade nights. And I can safely say that probably would not have happened if I just had the show. So there's a lot of appreciation that I think that people should put into attending trade nights, because, and I want to get your opinion on why you think that this is, but they serve such an important purpose.
You're 100% right. Last year when I went to Chicago, I walked into that first trade night by Kentucky Roadshow, Card Collector 2, and then Jeff Wilson was there with a live. I walked into that. Okay, let me just look around. My son, my cameraman, we walked in. I was like, let me just look around, see what this is. Every purchase I've made at that National was at that trade night.
Mm-hmm.
Within no time. I mean, we were there maybe 2.5 hours. Every purchase was made at that trade night. And I feel like I just saw. I feel like it is because the people who are setting up at the trade night, and this is no hate on a vendor, they're not paying a table cost. There are people who are arriving there who are doing just like what Nick was doing. They want to make moves or they want to make trades that's going to help them later in the weekend. And so they're willing to maybe negotiate with you. a little bit more. Now you may not see as much vintage. I don't know what you saw, Nick, but when I went in Chicago, I didn't see a lot of vintage at trade night. You may only see certain players or an abundance of certain players. But there were some cars there was some UFC stuff I remember last year. There was some F1 stuff that I remember talking to people about last year. You're going to see different stuff, but you're going to see a lot of Brady this year. You probably saw a lot of Steph Curry, a lot of LeBron. You're going to see some Mike Jordan. You're going to see some Dwayne Wade. You're going to see these players out there that if you want to make moves on, be prepared for trade night. Be prepared also. You may see a bomb car sitting on the floor that somebody's got their cars around them on the floor. Be flexible in that way. You may see cars sitting on a table somewhere. The person's sitting there. You may be walking throughout all this trade night and not really seeing what you're looking for until you find it. So be flexible. Talk to people. Ask them what they have on their tables. Keep moving around. What I did was I never stopped walking, really. Like I would talk to you. I may slow my pace, but I'm gone to the next table. And then I made laps. I remember where I was and who I had talked to. And I kind of made laps. So I think trade nights enhance the overall experience of the National. I think if you balance both the trade night and the show, I think you can do nothing but win. Nick was very organized from what I'm hearing as far as making plays early to allow him to make plays later on. These are all the things you want to think about. Make sure you got good comfortable walking shoes. Get your foundation right. Make sure you have water to drink so you don't get dehydrated. I saw people sitting on a wall in the National in the video going to sleep.
Yeah.
It can
I couldn't feel my feet after every day. They were numb, but honestly, the numbness kind of helped because at some point I didn't even feel them. But I actually have this little, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like the retractable little black circle chair, and you can fit it in your backpack. It's super cool. I'll actually send you the link. But I put it at a little retractable chair, it goes into a circle, and you twist it, and it comes out. It's probably 2 feet tall. You can throw it in your backpack, but that really helped me as well. And I had that in my backpack the whole time. I will suggest don't wear a backpack and stuff it with a ton of stuff, because your back will be sore like you've never even imagined. So carry a backpack, but only carry like a couple essential things in there. And then, you carry your cards in your hand or in maybe a pouch or something like that. But,
I remember in Chicago, we put down 35,000 steps.
That's crazy.
We got our walk on. Got up the next day, put down about 18,000. So just be prepared to get after it, to just go. And you're gonna be walking on cement, and like Nick said, you gotta have somewhere to sit down. Either you just sit down on the floor against a wall somewhere, or you have a chair like that. There were plenty of people sitting, eating, and there's certain things that I just don't eat. So if you're that kind of person, then you got to bring some stuff with you. Bring some whatever you eat, granola
protein bars,
whatever. Make sure you have, but with those, make sure you have plenty of water, because it's going to be important. So I think if you prepare yourself like that, take breaks, and also you can just become overstimulated with stuff. You're talking to people, you're thinking, you're checking comms. Shit, that just wears you out. So if you need to step off to just chill for a little bit, feel free to do that. That's what it's all about. And this applies to Dallas, all these different shows.
And I will say, and this is in every show, like you just said, try not to, if you have a box of cards, whether it's a small box or it's a box with a handle, try not to let your hand off the box. Keep it in your hand, because what you're going to do is when you're looking at wax boxes or you're looking through cards, you may walk away without realizing your card box is in your hand, which I did once. Luckily, I had my dad with me, like we talked about. So he was like, "Hey, Nick, you forgot your box." But I've also heard of a couple guys who forgot their box, and luckily there were some really honest dealers who picked it up and held it. But I can't say the same for everybody else. So I always, whenever I put my box down, I put it between my legs and I pinch my legs together consciously, knowing that I feel it, or because that's a real issue. Because at a show like the National, at the show like Dallas, at the show like the Burbank card show that's coming up, there's a lot going on. You see a lot of people, you get distracted very, very easily. You're excited. You have to always be aware of the things that you own and know that you probably have a minimum $500 in there worth of stuff. You don't want to lose that. And
No,
you can't rely on people being honest and trustworthy. And, it's just, you got to be very aware of that, especially at the big shows.
Colorado Sports Zoo has one of the funniest comments of the night. FD, we need a video call survival classes for shows. I think about a show like this. Think about you're about to go hiking, but you're gonna be selling something and buying something and discussing something in the negotiation process while you're doing it. Think about walking up a hill and you're talking to somebody about what this is worth and what I'm thinking about buying or selling that. If you can do that, you're ready for the national or any major show. If you say FT that may be difficult for me, then you got to just know what's coming.
Have you done the Dallas Card Show at all?
No, I have not been in Dallas. I want to go next year.
Yeah, I want to plan. Yeah. I just want to plan a Dallas show.
Have you been in Dallas?
I want to.
Okay.
No, I've been to. Yeah, I've been there, but I haven't been to the show.
Yeah, I've been to Dallas 2 times in life. Never been to a show. If you'd have told me back in the years that I was at Dallas, that there was going to be a Dallas show, that would have blew me away. That never really happened back then. But I would love to go to that show. Walk around, talk to people, see what's up. See if I can find some Curry in Dallas. And the house at Nowitzki and
Jerk. Nowitzki and
Doncic.
It's cool. Yeah, because Texas is cool because you got so many historical sports teams there. You got the Rockets, you got the Spurs, you got the Mavericks, you got the Houston Astros, Texas Rangers. There's a lot of historical, successful sports teams in that state, which is awesome.
And you know what's funny? Like, I'm pretty sure everybody that goes to Dallas is not looking for any of those players.
Maybe Luka, but not really. Yeah.
Which is hilarious. I've never thought about that, but probably not. Yeah. Nick, I appreciate your time, man. I know it's late where you are, and I appreciate you giving us your viewpoint. This was something to talk about. What was the national from Nick's point of view? This wasn't anything to bash the national. Even I think if anybody has organized something, that's something that goes down that maybe you didn't think about, or maybe you didn't prioritize up on the list. We talked about earlier Wi-Fi issues. I think it's a good learning experience for everybody. I know there were a lot of people there who are championing shows that are coming up. I'm pretty sure that's something they'll be talking about and thinking about. I saw an ad today. Let me see if I can pull it up here before we get off there. Nick, I don't know if you saw this. The Las Vegas Car Show is coming up, and they have. You can't even see it because of. Oh wow! You can't even see it.
Are you talking about the Mint Collective?
No, this is the Las Vegas Car Show, and they have an ad that says "Our Wi-Fi works."
Our Wi-Fi works. That's hilarious, actually.
Nick, did you go to the Mint last year?
I didn't. I was close to making that move. I didn't do it, but I really want to go. There was the one card show I really want to go to next year because I'm a Boston fan, but it's the Fenway card show and the Big Night Live card show. At TD. Yeah, I definitely want to get up there for that.
That'd be nice. So many good shows to go to. But Nick, I appreciate your time, man. You know we're gonna have you back on soon. Talk more of the hobby, talk more sports, especially when we find out what KD is going.
That'll be interesting, and it'll be interesting to see what it does to his card market because his cards are way down.
Can't believe that he had a $45,000 refractor not that long ago, and I think that thing is $7,000.
It's $7,000, but you can't even find someone to buy it, which is crazy. But I would say that if he stays healthy, he is a pretty decent investment, just based on the fact that He's a generational talent, but I wouldn't be the first guy to drop anything over $1,000 into him. But I would say that he could be somewhat safe, but I wouldn't personally do that just because I don't think that he has enough positives to outweigh all the negatives that surround him, whether they're accurate or true or not. It's just perception, and there's nothing you can do.
When I think of KD, I think of likability. I just don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
My PC, I have very little KD. There were times I was thinking about bringing KD in. That's when he was a Golden State. Then he got hurt. And then when he said he's going to play with Kyrie, I just got a little concerned. And then my concerns came true. I don't know how that. Even though I wish them both the best, I think Kyrie is an excellent player. I think KD is an excellent player. So, we'll see. If Kyrie doesn't hit that shot over Steph Curry, that's probably the biggest shot.
100%.
And I love the way, I love Steph, but I love the way Kyrie pulled that thing with confidence. Sheer confidence on his face and the way he pulled up. Like, I don't care where you are, Steph. I'm about to sink this jumper in your face.
Let me ask you one more question. Let me ask you one more question to end it, and this will be kind of like this will be a hot take for you. Okay.
What's up?
How many more titles does Curry win to finish out his career?
I think he has 6. He has 6 when he retires.
Okay. So I knew you were going to say that.
He'll be tied with Mike Jordan when he retires.
Where does that put him in your top 10 if he reaches that milestone?
I got him number 9 right now.
Okay.
I had him number 9 before he won his 4th. If he wins 6, Curry is probably top 6, top 5.
Okay.
That's
I agree with that.
And I think realistically, he's going to win 6 before he retires. Now, he may slip on a banana peel or something and end up in 7, but I really have him at 6. I can see 6 happening. Number 5 is going to be hot, bro. Everybody out there, you better hold on to your seats because number 5 is going to be real. I think he's going to come in this season and put a stamp on something.
And light it up. I think
he's going to put a stamp on some things from a defensive perspective that he started in the finals all the way over to his 3-point shooting. I'll put a highlight reel up on Instagram right before we started this of Steph Curry dunks. People should check that out. Boy, the young man has some points. He can get up. He just doesn't do that.
He doesn't need to.
Because most people cannot do what he does.
Nobody.
Did you hear before we get off? Somebody said because the 2017 Golden State Warriors beat the 96 Bulls. Iguodala said, I'm rolling with Jordan. If Jordan's playing, I think his team will win.
At the end of the day, and I'll say this for any team, if Steph Curry's on, I don't know who can beat the Warriors. If they're all healthy and they're all on a solid team, if Steph Curry is hitting shots, you can't stop him.
It's a problem.
You just can't.
And I think last year, I think breaking the record was messing with him.
No, 100% was.
Yeah. It looked like he felt rushed. It looked like he was shooting some threes. He's like, why is he shooting that? I think he wanted to break that record. And this year, he doesn't have to worry about that. And he's got some young talent coming that's going to. By the time we get to March next year, I think some of this young talent is going to start showing who they are.
100%. I think.
So you see Curry finishing with.
I can see him with 6 for sure. I think the Warriors have set him up for another 7 to 8 years of just success. Regardless of whether they truly win championships, I think that they're a winning team through and through, and they're getting to Western Conference Finals at the least for the next 5 years.
Well, you heard about the organization sold off space in the new stadium, raised over $200 million.
Mm-hmm.
They plan on putting that back into the roster.
Yep.
And it's a lot of owners in the league that's not happy with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And
When I heard those numbers, is when I said Curry's going to get 6.
I mean, it's also who doesn't want to play with Curry? He's such a likable player, and everyone wants to run the court with him. You know, how could you not? You know, you got someone to throw the ball to get assists. You have someone to open the floor up. It's like a dream come true for 99% of the players who probably aren't James Harden because he wants the ball in his hand 24 possessions a game or whatever it is. You know, it's.
Now think about who the Warriors let go after the season and who they've picked up so far.
Mm-hmm.
And the only person I hated to see go was the glove 2.
Yeah.
But Lee and everybody else, they've actually gotten better, and I still think they're probably going to sign 1 or 2 people. You got Wiseman out there, you got Draymond Green, but they probably need one more power forward / center to really start bringing some stuff home. I think that'll happen.
I think James Wiseman is going to be, and I know you believe it, but he's going to be a huge factor coming into the season. If he is who everyone believes he can be, that's going to be a scary team. I don't want to face. If the Celtics make the finals again for some reason and they're against the Warriors, I wouldn't put any money on.
It'll be a problem. I think you're going to end up having a player probably after 3 or 4 years, probably around when he's 24, 25, that's dominating the paint, and you're going to have somebody blazing threes on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be a problem for people. And I think next year, Golden State is going to run an A-B team where you're going to have some starters out there gassing you out, and then you're going to have a second team come in that's just finishing you off.
Mm-hmm. What I think is interesting about Curry, and this is why I kind of just love him as a player, when you compare him to not compare him as a GOAT comparison, but when you look at Michael Jordan, you say he can beat you in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
When Curry comes down the court, you know exactly what he's doing. 9 times out of 10, he's spotting up from somewhere on court, and you still can't defend him. Even if you are defending him, there's nothing anyone could. I think that's so admirable, and it's so just mind blowing to me that you know exactly what he like. If he drives to the hole, you have 4 guys behind you that can come up on him. Mm-hmm. But you know he's gonna spot up. You have to, or if anything, expect when you play in Jordan, you're playing LeBron. They're kind of just doing something based on their instinct of the game. Curry's just doing what he loves to do. He's just putting shots up, and before it leaves his hand, you're expecting he makes it. That's insane to me. I think it's something that's unheard of, and I think that alone gives him that standing in that top 10 debate. Because who else can you say that about in just one single facet of someone's basketball game and their talent?
Well, he can destroy you off the dribble, and he can destroy you off the screen. And most 3-point shooters in the past had to come off a screen. Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, even Rip Hamilton came off screens. But this guy can come down and cross you over and shoot a 3 and number net. He's going back down the other way. How do you really mess with that? I think the only thing that can hurt Curry is Curry, man. He's going to have to get hurt. Something's going to have to happen to him. That's something that's going to hurt him. He just passed, I think, 20,000 points. I think he passed 20,000 points last year. He's on his way to legendary status. I think this year he's going to start solidifying some things. And next year the year after, he's going to finish it up, solidifying some things. And by the time he takes off his last pair of sneakers, man, no one would have been able to predict that, which is crazy.
Do you think, based on him scoring threes at the rate he's scoring, could he pass Kareem and rival LeBron in the point category?
Oh, he's pretty late in his career to do that. Well, Curry's 33.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's pretty late in his career. Those 2 years that he was out with ankle surgeries might have taken that away from him. But he's going to, in basketball, man, we don't really talk about who has the most points scored. I mean, it sounds good in the newspapers. When's the last time somebody talked about that?
No, exactly.
So, baller status, legendary score, able to take over a game. He's going to have all those mantles behind him. It's not going to be any kind of question about it. I got a question here. I got a statement here from R, which I don't know. Minnesota may be interesting team to watch next year. That interesting may not be good though. I just don't understand how Cat and Rudy Gobert play together.
I think interesting is a bullseye. I think you're right on the mark with the interesting point. Is it going to be a good watch come All-Star break and after that? I think it'll be a little played out. I think there's going to be a lot of drama, and I think it's just going to burn itself out. And I think it's going to lead to either someone who's been around longer, kind of like a Cat or a Rudy Gobert, going elsewhere, or Anthony Edwards saying, "Hey guys, I'm not dealing with this. I want to go to a contender." Because he's the kind of guy that I feel doesn't put up with a lot of the nonsense, and he's going to come to a point he wants to win, and he knows that he can win because he is immensely talented himself. And I think that he could be a huge asset for a team like, say, the Heat, who need that kind of just
that would be
something like a team like that could use it. Could use an Ant-Man kind of talent.
So who's better?
I think Minnesota is going to ruin that.
Ant-Man or LaMelo Ball?
That's probably in comparison standpoint, probably the hardest comparison of them all, because they both have shown a lot, and they both have pure talent. They both can score. They both can defend. They both can handle the ball. They both can get to the rim. I would say situationally, I would put my money right now at the moment on LaMelo, just based on the fact that he has Jordan in the front office. He has, Charlotte has had relative success building over the last 5-6 years. And I think Minnesota is just, they get guys, and the guys, it's just not a spot for success. They had KG lead. They had, it's just, I don't think it's a spot for winning. And I think Ant-Man, for me, I would pick Anthony Edwards if he was on like a Phoenix or a Clippers kind of team. I would pick him over LaMelo any day. But because of the team he's on, I right now I'll go with LaMelo.
That's fair. I want to see both of them really make a move and let us know what is really going on with them. I just want to see somebody. Like I want to watch LaMelo and don't see him take time off when it's time to play defense. Sometimes he just stays in backcourt.
Do you think he's more talented than Lonzo overall?
Oh yeah, I said that when they were in high school. Oh yeah.
No, sure.
Lonzo Ball, I don't know if he lacks confidence or what it is, but I don't see a dog in him at all. He's not. I don't see aggressiveness. He's like a guy there going through the motions. I saw a little bit more of the Lakers, but he's kind of just going through the motions.
Yeah, and LaMelo is exciting to watch. I watched him once in Philly, and I've watched him a couple times in Charlotte. And he is box office, to say the least, and he's super young. He hasn't even probably grown into his full body yet. So I'm looking forward to 2-3 years down the line. Hopefully he really builds this team in Charlotte. Because I like the Hornets. They're a fun team to watch. The stadium's pretty cool. Charlotte's a nice area to build on. I think that he has a lot of potential there.
This is a comment for the end of our time together. Vintage Lloyd, Canada. Around 6 months ago, Shaq had said, I was telling a friend that he was going to buy a bunch of Bill Russell's game-used items for championship rings at auction. Rest in peace to Mr. Russell. Pillar of the community, a giant and a king. Mr. Russell did
trailblazer.
Trailblazer. He did a lot. I think if all of us could take a little bit of Bill Russell and let it mature itself in our lives and our communities, where would we be? So he took on stuff that he didn't have to take on, and was pleased to do that. And it was the more remarkable thing. 88 years old at the end, still had a foundation working with underprivileged children in metropolitan areas. Putting in that work. Yeah, all right. I don't see a dog in him. That's what I look at. I look at, do I see some of, and it's not, and when I say dog, it's not, I think we all know. It's not like aggression. It's about a determination that when you want to do something. Look at Michael Jordan, and look at Kobe, look at LeBron. These people want to get something done. Even if they can't get it done, they want to get it done. You got to see that. And in modern players, I look for that. Do I see some aggression? Do I see some, I want that ball? If Nick and I both go up for the rebound and we come down with the ball, am I trying to get it from him, or am I going to let Nick have it? Or we go for a tip ball, am I going to make sure I win that tip? Like the basic stuff. And then football, am I going to shed the block? Am I going to make the tackle? Am I going to get blasted one play as a quarterback, get up and throw a dart to somebody for a touchdown the next play? How does it work? Because at the end of the day, those are the people that people remember. All the cars that we talked about at the National that were worth so much are people that were different. So, Nick, go ahead with your final word.
I was going to say, and I've seen that dog kind of building in Curry lately, and you see his fire during the games when he hits those shots, when his teammates hit those shots, when he's coming off the bench and cheering his teammates on. You see that passion that you've seen kind of growing over the last few years. He's been trying to prove people wrong. I feel that has a lot to do with his success.
I totally agree. He's one of my favorite players, man. I think everybody knows that, but he is one of my favorite players. How he carries himself. It reminds me of when I was watching like Mike, Kobe, some other players. He's just different, man. And he does it in his own way. And you do see more out of him on the court. I think he wanted to prove a lot of people wrong talking about this KD stuff. Like he can't win without KD. Then he said, I'll show you what's up. I also can understand some of his nonverbal. Our birthdays are one day apart. So some of his nonverbal and how he kind of clowns the media sometimes is some stuff that I know I would do. Wearing the shirt that Aisha Curry can't cook is some stuff that I would definitely do.
No.
It's funny. But Nick, I appreciate you, bro. Again, like I said, we'll have you on regularly. I know there'll be things going on. You and I will be corresponding. Rest up this week because I know everybody is still recuperating from. There were some people that I was reaching out to about future dates for what's to play. And then when I saw pictures and realized they were at the National, I was like, we'll get together probably in September because we'll get back from stuff like that. I don't care what in shape level you are. There's time that you need to kick back. It's almost like running a half marathon. If you're in shape or not, you might still have some tenderness, or you probably gonna be laid up on the couch. I've known some people before who ran a half marathon with no pre-work, and they were on the couch for a week.
No, yeah. I'm mentally and physically sore. More mentally than anything.
Oh, bro, you picked up a bomb card, bro. I'm happy for you. I know you went there with that goal in mind. I had no doubt that you were going to find something that was very different and unique. I admire we both are fans of Steph Curry, man. And, I admire. Yeah. Well, brother, thank you. Get some rest. I'm going to do the same.
Yep, thank you. And I
always enjoy having you on.
Yeah, I can't wait to be back. We'll talk. I want to chat a little bit about because I'm sure you're in Burbank, so I would love to hear about that afterwards.
We'll be there.
I'd love to get on and talk about that.
Weekend. Trying to document as much as we can the entire weekend. Yeah, we'll definitely get on. We'll start charting that date. I'll hit you with some dates right after that, and then we'll chart that date to get on and then talk about that because we plan to be all over that thing just like you was with the National.
Perfect. Awesome.
All right, brother. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Good. Everyone be good.